Welcome, wherever you are. Let yourself settle. Allow your body to relax and your breathing to slow as we prepare for a gentle journey into the quieter corners of history. Journey not to battlefields or grand ceremonies, but to the slow, uncertain rhythm of life aboard a prison ship. Tonight, we drift back in time onto the wooden decks and below the creaking beams of a prison hulk. Floating jail moored in the shadow of a city, or set adrift on distant seas. Men and women who, for many reasons, found themselves confined in a world of wood and iron, where each day was marked by discomfort, monotony, and the hope of eventual release. These ships, stripped of sails and purpose, became the reluctant homes of those the world had cast aside. This is not the history of kings and heroes. This is the history of ordinary people, survivors, rebels, and dreamers whose quiet endurance shaped their world, and whose stories now invite you to drift into restful sleep. As you listen, let the soft roll of imagined waves soothe your mind. Let your thoughts meander, unhurried and free, through the sights, sounds, and subtle struggles of a night on a prison hulk. If you feel sleep approaching, welcome it. History will continue, quietly unfolding, ready for you when you return. Segment 1. Why you wouldn't last a night on a prison hulk. Imagine yourself in another time, aboard a ship that never sails. The air is thick and unmoving, saturated with a sense of salt, damp wood, sweat, and something older, unearthly heaviness that clings to every surface and settles into your clothing. The groan of timbers reminds you of the vessel's age and its slow surrender to the elements. The bunks are crowded, stacked in close rows, each one little more than a narrow shelf lined with straw or a tattered blanket. Most nights, there is nothing left. Hunger is a familiar companion. There is hardly space to turn without brushing against another body. There are quiet conversations, whispered in the dark, voices kept low so as not to attract attention. Their lanterns throw strange shifting shadows along the walls, illuminating faces drawn and tired. The air is thick, heavy with the shared breath of dozens of people packed too closely together. Sometimes a wave of fever sweeps through the hold, leaving silence and new spaces in the bunks. There is fear, but it is the quiet, resigned kind that settles over everyone like another blanket. The stars are sometimes visible through small portholes, pinpricks of hope in the darkness. You think about the world beyond the ship families, freedom, futures uncertain. You sense the tension. No one wants to attract notice. No one wants to be singled out. Occasionally, a burst of laughter or anger shatters the monotony, but such moments are rare. Mostly, it is the sound of breathing, shifting, waiting. Above you, footsteps echo as guards pass, their boots muffled by distance, their presence always felt but rarely seen. But about quiet survivaler, lesson, endurance, and the rhythms of life when each day is much like the last. The day's light fades, replaced by the flicker of lanterns hung along narrow corridors and the uncertain glow filtering through cracks in the deck above. You are one among many, here too many, really. Lying back, you listen to the gentle rhythm of the hall meeting, the water, sometimes a lullaby. Sometimes a reminder that escape is impossible. The ship moves slightly, rocking in a way that is both calming and, at times, unsettling. Somewhere, water drips. Stories are traded, some real, some imagined, all offering brief escape from the unchanging world of the hulk. The night brings little privacy and even less comfort. If you are lucky, you have kept your small portion of bread and a tin cup of water from the evening meal course, dry and tasteless, but essential. Noise is constant, but subdued. Someone coughs a harsh, rattling sound that never seems to stop. Another man mumbles in his sleep. The routine is strict. Each night, the guards make their rounds, checking every corner and crevice. Disease is ever present. And yet, even in these hard conditions, there are moments of quiet resilience. Someone hums a tune remembered from home. A card game starts, using bits of paper and charcoal. You notice that some prisoners have learned small tricks to make the night more bearable. Folded shirt for a pillow, a way to tuck in the blanket, just so, a whispered prayer or ritual for good luck. Outside, the city or the sea continues its slow, indifferent rhythm. Gradually, fatigue overtakes you. You settle deeper into your bunk, accepting the gentle roll of the ship, the warmth of nearby bodies, the presence of both discomfort and unexpected community. Sleep comes slowly, but it does come. And as you drift, you realize that a night on a prison hulk is not about drama or daring escape. Let your mind rest here, rocked gently by the imagined tides, as we prepare to move onward in our journey. Segment 2: The Escape of Mary Bryant, Survival and Rebellion. Let us now drift from the crowded night of the prison hulk to a single, quiet story, one of endurance and quiet defiance that unfolded far from home, across endless miles of ocean. As we leave the confines of the ship behind, allow your thoughts to follow the gentle rocking of the waves, moving steadily but unhurriedly toward the unknown. Mary Bryant's story begins much as yours did, in the low-lit gloom below deck. Mary was a young woman from Cornwall, caught by the slow turning of fortune's wheel. Convicted for robbery, she was sentenced to transportation, banished from England and sent, with hundreds of others, to the far side of the world. The hulk became her first new home, a liminal space between the past and a future written in uncertainty. Mary was not alone. Her husband, William, and their young children were with her, along with dozens of others who shared the same fate. Imagine the slow, day-by-day monotony aboard the ship that would take her to Botany Bay. In the new penal colony of Australia, the horizon was both promise and barrier, a line that never drew nearer. The days blurred together, the ceaseless sea, the hard bread and thin broth, the sound of chains and the occasional call of a distant seabird. Yet, in the midst of hardship, Mary watched, waited, and quietly planned. The seed of an idea took root in escape, almost unimaginable, across the sea. Days blurred together once more, now measured by hunger, thirst, and the slow passage of the sun and stars. Life was measured in routines, ration lines, roll calls, brief walks on the deck. When at last they arrived in Australia, a new routine began. Each day brought new fatigue, but also new hope as the distant coastlines changed, and the memory of prisons slowly receded. They gathered supplies, flour, water, salted meat, piece by piece, in secret. The plan required patience and quiet courage. There were few comforts on land. The penal colony was harsh, food was scarce, and the dreams of freedom grew more distant. Her journey from prison hulk to freedom was measured not in miles or days, but in the quiet choices that built one upon another into escape. She listened for rumors and possibilities. She noticed who could be trusted and who might betray. Mary, her husband, and a small band of companions began to prepare. Then, on a night that seemed like any other, the group slipped away. They climbed into a small, open boat, barely more than a fishing skiff, and set off into the vast unknown. The sea stretched out in every direction, immense and indifferent. The journey that followed was a quiet battle against the elements. Storms gathered and faded. The wind rose and died away. And the small group rode steadily onward, sharing what little they had. Mary's escape was not an adventure of dramatic moments, but of daily endurance. Each hour, a small victory over despair. Each meal, a lesson in gratitude. When at last the group reached safety, it was not with fanfare or celebration, but with a deep, quiet relief. They had survived. Mary Bryant's story is one of gentle rebellion, in shouts or riots, but in the persistent, steady hope of a better life. Tonight, as you listen, let your thoughts drift with Mary's small boat across uncertain waters. Through quiet struggle and steady resolve, let the rhythm of her story be a gentle lullaby, a reminder that even in the darkest places, there is room for hope and quiet courage. Segment 3. The Mystery of the Vanished Convicts of Australia. Let us continue our journey, not with hurried steps, but with the slow curiosity that comes in the quiet hours of the night. Our path leads us from the individual stories of the prison ships to the vast, untamed land that awaited so many convicts, Australia. Here, beyond the reach of the familiar, a deeper mystery settled like a gentle fog over the colony's early years. For every name carefully recorded by authorities, every convict sent to the distant coast, there are others whose stories slipped quietly away. The names and faces fade, not with drama, but with the slow, unremarked passing of years. After the months at sea and the hardship of arrival, the routine of convict life unfolded. Days marked by labor, evenings spent under careful watch, hopes and plans shaped by the slow ticking of time. But for thousands, the official records simply stop. The ledgers grow quiet. Sometimes, life in the penal colony itself proved too much. Where did they go? Some surely succumbed to the hardships of their new world illness, injury, hunger. Australia's wild beauty concealed many challenges. Thick forests, rivers swollen by rain, strange animals, unfamiliar foods. A grave might be marked with a simple stone, or not at all. Others may have blended into the landscape, finding work far from the settlements, or living quietly among local communities. Historians and archaeologists search for traces of these vanished lives. The laughter or quiet sighs of those who made a new home far from what they once knew. Sometimes, a buried button or a fragment of pottery emerges from the earth's remnants of the everyday that whisper of forgotten routines. In the gentle hush of an abandoned camp or the broken wall of an old cell, you can almost hear the rhythm of lives lived in slow, determined repetition. A fire kindled at dawn, bread baked from hard-won grain. Archaeological digs in remote corners of Australia have revealed stories written not in ink, but in the layers of soil and stone. A rusted spoon, the remains of a crude shelter, footprints left in clay, speaks softly of struggle and adaptation, of the quiet determination required to endure. Legends linger as well, but often by those whose lives move gently beneath the surface, unnoticed except by those who look closely. Some say convicts escaped, vanishing into the bush, carving out a life in the shelter of trees and hills. Others tell of those who joined indigenous groups, learning new ways and new rhythms. Their old identities gradually softened by time and distance. The peace that can come from finding a place, however humble, in a world far from home. There are tales of hope and rumors of new beginnings, passed down in gentle voices around nighttime fires. The mystery of the vanished convicts is not a story of sudden disappearance, but a tapestry woven from countless threads of slow change and silent endurance. Their absence in the records is a quiet echo, a reminder that history is not always made by the famous or the loudest. As you listen, let your mind drift to those empty clearings and silent camps where the past lingers in the hush of wind and the warmth of sun on stone. Imagine the comfort found in small routines, the hope kept alive by quiet determination. Rest now in this mystery, soothed by the knowledge that every life, no matter how lost a history, leaves its gentle mark upon the world. Segment 4. Captain's Quarters. Privilege on a floating prison as our journey across the ship continues. Let us quietly leave the crowded, restless bunks below deck and ascend to the quieter, more orderly spaces above. A space set apart, marked by authority, comfort, and a daily rhythm all its own. Here, beyond a locked door and thick wooden walls, lies a very different world, the captain's quarters. Imagine yourself waking in this small but well-kept cabin. The air here is different, cooler, tinged with a faint scent of ink, leather, and polished wood. Rays of early morning light filter through a round window, painting gentle shapes on a desk scattered with papers and charts. You rise from a cot covered with clean linen, stretch, and pour a cup of water from a jug left by an attentive steward. The room is quiet except for the distant creak of timbers and the slow, steady heartbeat of the ship moving with the tide. The day begins not with a scramble, but with a calm routine, reviewing the logbook, checking the list of prisoners, planning the day's inspections. The officers and guards gather for briefings, speaking in measured tones about the day's challenges, quarrels below, new arrivals, rumors of illness. There is time to enjoy each bite, to read a letter from home, or to reflect in silence before stepping out to face the day. The captain's breakfast is plain, but wholesome bread, cheese, perhaps a piece of fruit. Aboard the hulk, the captain carries both power and burden. Every decision weighs heavily. How to maintain order, how to manage limited rations, when to show leniency, when to enforce the rules. The captain listens carefully, balancing firmness with patience, always aware that too much harshness might spark unrest, too much kindness might invite chaos. Sometimes the captain pauses to watch the water or the distant shoreline, the mind wandering to memories of home or thoughts of a different life. Throughout the day, the captain makes the rounds. The decks are cleaner here, the air fresher, the views wider. There are moments of laughter, stories told softly in the lamplight, reminders of life beyond the ship's routine. The contrast with the holds below is constant each trip down, a reminder of the responsibilities and privileges that come with command. Guards stand aside as the captain passes, their respect tinged with caution. And then rest knowing that every decision, every small kindness or firm command shapes the lives of those aboard. The lamp flickers on the desk, shadows stretching across the wood. Prisoners fall silent, eyes averted as authority walks by. In the quiet of the afternoon, paperwork fills the hour's reports to write inventories to check, letters to answer. In these moments, the world feels smaller, contained within the walls of the ship, yet the burden of command can feel immense. As evening falls, the officers gather for a simple meal, shared in a private mess, apart from the rest of the ship. Conversation is restrained. News from home, the weather, the day's small frustrations and quiet successes. When night returns, the captain retreats to the quarters once more. Outside, the sounds of the ship, quietened voices fade. Footsteps slow, and the world settles into a gentle hush. A final review of the logbook, a brief prayer, or a moment of reflection. Here, in the captain's quarters, privilege offers comfort, but also brings solitude. The silence can be soothing, but sometimes carries its own kind of weight, a reminder that leadership, even amid luxury, is often a lonely calling. As the night deepens and the ship rocks gently with the tide, let yourself find rest in this quiet place, far above the noise and struggles below, yet always connected to every life on board. Calming conclusion now, as our time on the old prison ship draws quietly to an end. Let your mind settle like the waters beneath the hull. We have traveled together through the narrow bunks below deck, felt the weight of survival and routine, and listened for the soft echoes of lives, now gone lives, shaped by endurance, hope, and the slow passage of days. We have followed Mary Bryant's quiet determination as she set out across an uncertain sea, finding freedom in small, steady choices. We have wandered through the soft mysteries of forgotten camps and unmarked graves, where the stories of the vanished are gently preserved by earth and memory. We have even stepped into the captain's quarters, where responsibility and solitude shaped each quiet hour, offering a glimpse of the burdens and comforts of command. Perhaps, as you rest now, you'll reflect on the quiet power of history's unseen moments, the struggles, hopes, and dreams of those who lived and endured, often unnoticed. Always human are, woven through the gentle rhythms of our own nights and days. Even aboard a crowded ship or in a lonely cabin, the desire for comfort, connection, and peace endures. So, as you drift into sleep, let the soft rocking of the imagined tide soothe your thoughts. Remember that the story continues through calm and storm, hardship and hope. Tonight, you are safe, at rest, and far from the discomforts and uncertainties of the past. May your dreams be gentle, your sleep deep, and your heart comforted by the knowledge that every life, no matter how quietly lived, leaves its mark on the world. Thank you for joining this journey through time. Good night,